AI stocks drive the S&P 500 to all-time highs, outperforming every Magnificent Seven company since market bottom. So when you're talking about AI stocks, we're talking about Palantir, VST, NRG, AMD, even like Nvidia, and those stocks have outperformed traditional technology companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, even Tesla. So man, we've seen a record climb up since we hit that bottom back in April. What would you tell the investor that's right now that still has money sitting on the sideline? Because what happened is that people might have money sitting on the sideline and they might have put money in, but they might not have put all of their money in. They still might have some money sitting on the sideline. What's the advice for the investor that has money sitting on the sideline right now?
Invest in the sector that is causing all the gains. Two things I did predict that in 62 days the market would recover. We're there and at all-time highs. But if we're going to be honest, I was thinking about this yesterday. I didn't want to interrupt y'all because y'all was having brunch with us. But what does a company like Salesforce do? Where the premise of the company is to make businesses more efficient. And I love Mark Benioff dearly, like the company dearly. But if Google, which they have been doing an incredible job at focusing on their suite of services and their AI stack, what does a company like IBM do, who has, I think they let off 8,000 people because of AI? Salesforce do. All the companies that will middle of the road and non-exceptional. So my first piece of advice would be invest into the sector that matters the most, which is AI. Second, stop investing in non-exceptional companies. Apple, I still have a grievance. You opened up at $248.93 this year. You're at $200.05 as of right now. Why? Because they chose to sit on the capital opposed to deploying it to the sector that matters. So AMD has risen, Nvidia has risen, Vistra, like even the energy component. And this is my frustration. And I know when this get clipped up, people may say, well, you love Apple. I do, but also if a partnership goes awry and you're seeing that they're making missteps, you still have to call it out. They could have invested in the energy component that was adjacent to AI and still had incredible exposure. So if you have money sitting on the side, I would definitely start with Nvidia. Due to political beliefs, I don't love Palantir, but I've always said that stock is going to run. And I would stay away from the companies that are not innovating and have money deployed in this space. Meta and OpenAI are still fighting and having a great battle over talent. Meta's hit an all-time high or pushing towards all-time highs as a result. Great job. But I think the companies that are underinvested in AI are paying the price for it today.
I'm with you. I feel like a few months ago, I did a class and it was titled The Data Center Revolution. So anything involving data center, whether it be the semiconductors inside of it, the connectivity that's going to go inside it, the liquid cooling that would be going inside of it, the infrastructure, the energy.
Yeah, all like, those. Not to cut you off, Apple couldn't have invested in a data center. Even 25% ownership in it. That would have the stock up 40% just off that alone.
And those stocks, I mean, those stocks, when we were saying block out the noise, I know it's tough when your portfolio is down and the market is down and you're seeing red days. It's tough to block out the noise and just channel in and focus. But that's exactly what you should do, right? When we saw what happened April 7th, it was the same thing. Let's just block this out. We're staying where we are. The data center revolution will be monetized. And if you look at the companies, TSM, all-time high, NVIDIA, all-time high, AMD has gone up by 50%, Micron hit its all-time high, right? All those companies we talked about, Vertiv, Vistra, Celestica, which is a company that nobody was talking about. If you look at their charts, these all have peaked for the 1 year, if not for all-time highs. And it speaks to where we're going with this because we're still in the early innings of it, right? Like some of these data centers haven't come to line yet, right? The data centers that TSM are putting together, they haven't come to line yet, but they will be in the next few years. When we talk about energy consumption, that is at the forefront of all the conversation. How are we going to power this? How much more power do we need? that conversation isn't going anywhere. We still need more power. We won't be able to use AI at its full capacity if we don't. Who's going to lead that? We talked about NVIDIA. We talked about Blackwell, right? Blackwell had a supply issue. That supply issue is no longer there. Blackwell Ultra, we already told you what's coming from that. We told you who was going to be helping them get this into the hands of consumers when we went to GTC, and CoreWeave was the focus of the conversation. We saw that. We saw what was going to be the liquid cooling, Vertiv. We showed you that. We told you that. So if you're looking where to invest, I'm still looking in those places.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that are keeping the market going. And I would throw Netflix in there as well. That was another company we spoke about, and I don't see them slowing down, and they haven't. So I would stay there. I would be mindful, though, of the seasonality of investing, right? So now we're going into the summer months. Third quarter is about to start tomorrow. July is usually the best month in the third quarter for a reason. That's because if we've seen over the past 5 years, especially since we've been doing the show, if you look at how August has performed, if you look
a
at
rough one. A good time to buy, but it's a rough one if you about to top.
If you look how September performs, you'll see signs of what you just said, Ian. Yes, we've hit some all-time highs. There will be some pullbacks. They're going to happen. We shouldn't run from them. We should be positioned. If you went up 100%, are you taking profit? Right? If you went up 400%, how much profit you taking to now put on the side to say, hey, I know there's going to be some pullbacks here. There might be some more opportunities for me to, especially in the options space, to now elongate some of these calls, because some longer leaps on companies I believe in. So I would just look at what my strategy is, knowing that, yes, we've hit highs. Yes, there's going to be pullbacks, and there might be some deeper ones. These companies aren't going anywhere. I still believe in them. I'm going to keep investing in them. Let's just reassess it.
Yeah, here's why it's important. The battle for energy generation is heating up between us and China. We're losing. Rashad, you was just there. But China is at 10,000 terawatt hours for the country. United States is at 4,000. So whoever has the most power for the country to then power the GPUs that they're going to get from NVIDIA is going to win this war. I think it's the most important war of this decade. So for those of you who are looking for a key factor or catalyst reason, we can't lose this race to China, or we're going to end up losing the investment war there as well. So,
yeah. And if you live in rural areas, if you live in middle America, you're probably seeing these big, huge football field like size factories that are being built for not people, but for actually machines.
Yep.
And so those machines need to be racked. They need to have connectivity. They need to have power. All those things. I would dissect the data center and look at the companies that are inside of those spaces, because that is the way of the future.
Like, I was on the highway and I was riding past. I'm like, what is it? Like the Russell 2000? When will that recover? Like, what value does a company like Carvana have in comparison to DeepSeek?
Yeah. You said Salesforce. So I'm not sure. Did you see Benioff said that 50% of the workforce is now done by AI?
Good. He's right out that Elon playbook. Good.
Well, that's what you had. So like when you were saying it, that would be the answer to the question. You increase revenue. How do you do that? You cut workforce.
How do you do that while being a favorite? Because at some point, I think they're going to need to cut up to 80% of the workforce. And then the management of the robotics or artificial intelligence has to be at the forefront. But how do you do that and not be demonized as a villain? That's the only conundrum I'm having with them. If anyone can do it, I think he's charming enough to do it. But and we had this conversation a few years ago. I love the company. I just feel like they are too reactionary and not proactive enough. But so, Apple, would you please put out an investment plan for AI, please?
So is it should people invest at an all-time high, or should they wait for a pullback?
You got to wait for a pullback no matter what.
20%.
10% minimum, ideally 20%. Tune into the show every week. I'll tell you where to get in. If I've made you money, please put yes in chat. If not, you're going to have a tough time come August. Everybody going to be screaming yes in chat. You're going to be the only one mad.